Maths is the most important subject you need to pursue if you want a future in life. Sylvia, you have an affinity for literature. Have you ever considered writing? In this video, let's get personal. This is story time. Let me tell you how creativity, nurturing natural affinities towards writing and literature can lead to successful careers. The story of how I got into journaling. The earliest memory of writing featuring in my life is around secondary school, when I had assignments to submit written stories. I remember being so young, sitting at my desk on the 4th floor of a block of flats, with the back to a window very similar to how I am sitting now. Funny that, isn't it? I remember submitting that first assignment with so much trepidation. My first ever written story. That feeling still overwhelms me every time I have to make my world public. A deep sense of vulnerability because you are seeing my inner world, written or on video. You are seeing how my mind thinks, how my inner creativity expresses itself. All I could think of was, how am I going to live past this? How am I going to make it past this point when this person, this teacher, is seeing what I have created? So the first time I submitted that story, I had this enormous sense of dread that simply wouldn't leave me. To my absolute shock, not only that teacher gave me the highest mark, but she also asked me to read it out loud in class. I remember vaguely the enjoyment of reading my creations out loud, relishing that performative aspect, which I then nurtured further in high school. That moment in that class, reading out loud, of pure vulnerability, yet embracing fully the ability to share my own writing, that is a memory that sticks out clearly amongst many other fuzzy memories from secondary school. I recall doing that a few more times, and I'm so grateful to that teacher who saw that in me. In my world, where the perception that only maths is the subject that will get you somewhere in life, that teacher laid the foundations of self-belief in my ability to write. In high school, my writing got more nuanced through reading. I developed an obsession that I still carry to this day. If I found a book that really resonated with me, in which I lost myself fully and yearned for when I finished it, I went on reading everything that author has written. Everything. I recall the first author I did this with, Ep.1. He's a Romanian-French playwright who wrote avant-garde theatre. I was reading everything related to them, aiming to understand why did they write on those subjects, or indeed in that manner. That fascination for human behaviour was the foundation to me now being a sociologist. With Ionesco, I was fascinated by the fact that he wrote in his native language, yet mainly in French because of where he lived. This ignited the interest in me to be able to do the same. The latest author I have been absolutely obsessed with is the Irish author Marian Keyes. Through reading a lot, I was also beginning to write more about what I was reading. I often read poetry out loud to myself in the same bedroom, behind that same desk. It was at around that time in high school when another literature teacher saw me reading poetry out loud in class. She said, there is this drama course with the actress Stella Popescu, who was very notorious at the time. I think you should go try it out. This teacher encouraged me to try out drama, which I pursued. That time was the most at home, the most me I have felt ever up until that point. Most importantly, it led me to my best friends of nearly 20 years now. Pursuing drama developed my deep fascination with feelings, with human behavior, and with performative acts. That is when I began to understand myself, and I needed to process that somehow. So, in my teenage years, I began writing in a journal, in a physical journal that I carried with me everywhere. That in itself became a lifestyle, a bohemian lifestyle of reading, writing, acting, hanging out with writers, with friends who also pursued drama. Through underground theatre is how I made my first ever money, due to writers such as Alexandru Potcoavă, who believed in me and wrote plays for us to perform, like Creka. Understanding those deep feelings in order to be able to express them through acting was very much enabled by journaling. I would write everywhere. In parks, in class, in the pub. I would often be found sitting in Union Square, in my favourite spot in Union Square, facing the dome, cross-legged, writing, deep in thought, deep in my own world. Thanks to a couple of teachers who saw my affinity towards literature and reading and writing and drama, those traits, captured and enhanced by journaling, have become the fundamentals of who I am today. From being a researcher in sociology, for developing several professional skills related to writing, loving being on camera right now, and so much more. And yes, that overwhelming feeling of dread every time I put something of my own creation out there is still there. And it still pays off tenfold every single time. So that's how I got into journaling. Of course, journaling back then was almost all in my native language. So in the next story time, I will tell you how I started journaling in English.